Speaking of strong women, feminists out here supporting, empowering, straight up holding up other women. Shout out to Hillary Clinton. Shout out to Chelsea Clinton. Those two ladies had a lot to say this week. Now, since Meghan has become a duchess, she's had some of the highest highs in her life and perhaps some of the lowest lows. She had the wedding of the century. I'm go ahead and label that the wedding of the century. She traveled to so many new countries. We already know Sis is well-traveled, so it's not like, world travel is brand new to her, but she's traveling in a new context with a new role, with, a different amount of influence. And that's all really wonderful. It's great. And she's also traveled to so many new countries, though. And she's really spread her wings as a philanthropist. She's used her voice and influence with grace, but with conviction. And she showed that she's determined to continue to give voice to important issues affecting women around the world, as well as empowering women to use their own voices. Again, it's in everything she does. So it doesn't matter whether it's SmartWorks, it doesn't matter whether it's CamFed, it doesn't matter whether it's entities in South Africa. It doesn't matter whether it's the Luminary Bakery. This is a major theme, a driving passion in this woman's life. But she's also been subject to constant abuse and bullying by an institution that is seldom policed. That institution being the tabloid media. And since becoming a duchess, and even before, they've attempted to bully her into silence, knowing she's isolated, away from everything she knows. And while she, as a new mother, is attempting to build her new normal within this foreign framework, the bullying just continues. And the world has been a witness. People will continue to speak out about it. But they'll also speak about how proud they are of this woman for handling her whole ordeal with so much grace while continuing this very important work that she's doing. Well, recently, Chelsea Clinton and her mother, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, were in London, and they gave an interview on BBC 5 Live, I believe it was, or BBC Live. And they were asked about the racist nature of the coverage of Meghan, and I was pleased that they both spoke so openly and freely.
Do you worry that there is a racist element to what's going on here?
I think absolutely there's a racist and a sexist element to what's going on here. And I think that Meghan Markle is an incredibly gutsy woman. And
Ever met her?
I've never met her. So this is just kind of admiration from afar. And I think in a kind of a continuation from our last conversation is, we each have to do what we think is the right thing, for ourselves. And in her case, I would imagine, for her son. And so if taking action against the Mail on Sunday is that, which clearly she's decided it is that's what she has to do.
You nodded very passionately there when I mentioned
I have a great deal of feeling toward and about her because it's one thing to be told what it will be like when you step onto the biggest stage with the brightest spotlight, joining the royal family, becoming, president or first lady in his family in our country. And yet it still is really hard to imagine. It takes some getting used to have your every, move scrutinized and analyzed and frankly, things made up about. And I really wish her and her husband the very best because they are struggling to have a life of meaning and integrity on their own terms. And that's hard enough if you're just walking around in today's world. But if you're on that big a platform, it's really difficult.
But you do think gender and race are coming
together? Absolutely.
Yes.
I think,
absolutely.
I don't think there's any doubt of it. I think even, if you go back and look at social media from the time the engagement was announced, race was clearly an element in it. And to think that some of your, what we would call mainstream media, actually allowed that to be printed in their pages
or amplified
was heartbreaking and wrong. people don't choose who they fall in love with. They fall in love. And she is an amazing young woman. She has an incredible life story. She has stood up for herself.
Hillary chimed in by saying that, A, she's a huge fan of Duchess Meghan, and she also agreed with the common assessment that Meghan's race has quite a bit to do with how she's being covered. She said it's certainly a part of it, and if the explanation that she's biracial, then shame on everybody. Absolutely, shame on everybody. We've been saying it from the very beginning, and it's not like it's really that big of a secret. But to hear someone like Hillary Clinton, to hear someone like Chelsea Clinton acknowledging that and pointing the finger at it, Hillary Clinton should be president right now. So it's not like a man on the street interview. This is someone whose name, reputation, legacy carries weight. For her to point to it and say it, that's important. And Chelsea added that Meghan's prior career might motivate the coverage as well, saying it's because she proudly had a career first and has a voice that thankfully she continues to use. Anyone who has the temerity to break the mold of what has previously been established and expected often, unfortunately, receives criticism and bile that I don't understand. We've seen this pattern repeatedly. I don't know her, but as someone who respects her, I'm so grateful that she persists and is unbowed. Shout out to the Invictus poem, because that is certainly the character that Meghan is carrying with her. She is unbowed and is doing the work she feels called to do, and also isn't willing to be bullied. Shout out to Chelsea M.F. Clinton. You feel me? I mean, there was a lot in just that statement. The fact that she mentioned, and I'm not saying she was being petty, but I'm going to tell you, I'm petty. And maybe I'm reading too much into it, but what I hear when I say that, when I read that, is Meghan isn't like any other royal. That's all I'm hearing. It's not anybody in particular. I'm not pointing the finger at anybody, but Meghan is who she is. And we've seen this throughout history, though. When you don't just put yourself in the box that people want you to be in, and you dare to be different, or you dare to be yourself, actually, because being yourself is kind of radical in some contexts. And you are yourself, and you know that who you are is perfectly acceptable and well, but you're being bullied for that. That's kudos to you for staying the course. And to me, it says a lot about Meghan's character that she has women of this caliber speaking up on her behalf. That's not bad for an actress that people supposedly never heard of. And that's because she was never just an actress. It says that Meghan has always prioritized being a person who is clearly using her time on this earth for good. So much so that people from all walks of life and all levels of society and influence are speaking up for her, far more than we could have imagined around the time when she was giving birth to Archie. And again, keep in mind, Hillary Clinton is what I call the true president of the United States. Regardless of the outcome, she got 3 million more votes than the fool we see in the Oval Office now. And she is the most qualified person, not man, not woman, but person, to ever run for the president of the United States. And she's also a true feminist, and she's speaking up for Meghan. That to me gave me goosebumps, regardless of what you think about Hillary, because she's not perfect, and I got my gripes too. But just the idea of it, it's really important. And it's not the first time. She's spoken up in support of Meghan on her Instagram, I think twice. So what I like is how comfortable she is, she and Chelsea, how comfortable they are. And that's because it's a natural position to take if you have any common sense, which is Meghan has done nothing wrong, so please stop bullying her, period. And I also love that these are two powerhouses, two American powerhouses who said these words on an English platform, the BBC. That sends a clear message to me. It says that you may mistreat her because you think you can get away with it. You don't think we're paying attention. Well, guess what? We are. And what you're allowing to go on here in your country, it is not acceptable. And it's not okay. So I love seeing American women speaking up for Meghan, because I feel like if the roles were reversed and it was some other American woman and Meghan was on her 8th season of Suits or 9th or whatever, and she's giving an interview about Suits, and somebody just randomly asks her about the Duchess of Sussex that's not her, but who's an American, Meghan's going to speak up for her, whether she's American or not, but especially if she's American. And thank God Meghan still has her dual citizenship, because I can't imagine how lonely it would be for her to know that she's like literally trapped in England. Not literally, because you can still go where you want to go. But if you relinquish your U.S. citizenship, I mean, you're kind of limited to what you can do and be in America when it is what it is. So, but she kept both. That's called foresight, and I appreciate it, because a lot of people relinquish their citizenship from one country because, they don't want to pay taxes in 2 countries, which I totally get. But she said, oh, no, sis. And that might have to do with the fact that she is, American and strongly identifies with being an American, but also her mother is American. And she's talked about wanting to share American culture with her son and her children. So I'm just so happy for her that she still has that. And let me remind everybody just one more time, she's married to the 6th in line. She's not going to be your queen consort. So you don't have to worry about no Black American being your queen consort. Why don't you take the spotlight off of her and let her live her life how she want to live it? Let her and Harry and Archie live their lives the way they ought to live, and stop complaining about them, because they're doing you no more harm, and they're not doing you any harm, but they're not putting a dent in your wallet. It's them other folks who doing that. If they're doing it at all, even, because you're not really paying that much money as a taxpayer. But that's your argument because you don't want to admit the fact that you don't like that she's half Black. So I say get out of the country. I say, lean on that American citizenship and get you a house somewhere in Cali, or get you a house somewhere else. It can be any one of the Americas. Girl, go to Argentina where Nacho at. That'll be cool. Just get out of England as often as you can. That's what I would advise. But no, I'm really just being silly. But I like that she still retained her American citizenship, and to see other strong American women in England now, because again, that sends a message. They're on your platform, on your network, and they're saying, we identify with her because she is one of us. And the way that y'all have allowed her to be treated, that has not gone unnoticed. And by the way, can I just say that American men and women have led the charge in defending Duchess Meghan from the tabloid press over in England. Like from Oprah to Ellen, of course, Serena Williams, Gayle King, George Clooney was one of the first. He was the first and the loudest initially. Also American. Various American news outlets, even Chrissy Teigen in her way on Twitter. Daniel Martin, he's spoken out on multiple occasions. Michelle Obama, another First Lady of the United States. The ladies of The View, Shonda Rhimes, and I'm not even listing everybody. Those are just the ones I can remember offhand. But to me, as an American, it's heartwarming to know that Americans are standing up for the American Duchess, because, it's not like Meghan is a bad person. She's a good person. And so if anybody's going to speak up for her, I think it ought to be Americans. And we've spoken the loudest. I wish it was people in England with influence that were speaking the loudest initially. But it took some time for people over here to notice. But that chorus is really loud now. It's super duper loud. And slowly but surely, though, British folks have begun to speak up en masse, like we saw the 72 members of parliament. And that was just, in October. But better late than never. But shout out to Americans for having her back, because that's been clear from the get-go.